Welcome to Texas Platinum, the last of the real water cooler talk shows on YouTube. I am Trevor, joined by Matt Myers tonight. Matt Madrid could not make it, but he sends his good wishes and good vibes as Texas takes on the Buckeyes in Arlington this Friday. So big game, a lot to discuss, and of course we got to recap the game that took 10 years off of our lives back in Atlanta against Arizona State. Lots to discuss there too. So we'll be touching on both games, and we'll have time codes in the description if you want to hop around. But before we get into it, though, please like, comment, subscribe, all the usual. Thank you for doing so. Means a lot to us, especially as Texas is in a very prime position to have its first real shot at a national championship this season. So, Myers, let's start with Arizona State. Wild game, a game that honestly, us Texas fans, I feel like would say shouldn't have been a game in the first place. I feel like all the neutral fans are like, "Oh yeah, this was like the greatest game of the season." Texas fans definitely have a different perspective on it. What? Just give me your first few thoughts about Arizona State.
Man, I hated that entire game. It was horrible. It was like everything that went wrong this season, all of our issues that we've had, special teams, lack of a run game, penalties, missed kicks. It all was a perfect ending for us to end our season with everything going wrong, the things we've been harping on for so long, the lack of complementary football. And Arizona State fought hard after we blew the lead, third quarter woes again. It was just so fitting. It was like, yeah, this is how our season ends. It finally caught up to us, especially when they went up in overtime. And when we missed that Bert Auburn kick at the last seconds, I was like, man, it's over. It's over. My dad was there. He left at the start of overtime because he thought it was over. So but Texas found a way. Shout out to Quinn and the offense and Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm for making those big boy plays when it mattered and keeping us alive. But man, this team is so flawed, and we always talk about this, but for as flawed as we are, we're still a really good team. I mean, you that game was horrible to watch as a Texas fan and so many ugly things, but keep in mind Arizona State won the Big 12, a good Power Four conference, and they were the hottest team in the nation, arguably. Now that Ohio State's hot, you might want to say Ohio State's the hottest team, but before that, it was all Arizona State. They were rolling everyone. They rolled Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. Wasn't even a close game, and their backfield's the real deal with Levitt and Scatabo. And our defense did hold them in check. I did think they had like eight
Yeah.
point total mid fourth quarter, six if you take away the safety by the offense. But then the dam broke. The lack of the ability to they were just on the field the whole game. There was no run game for Texas. The time of possession was so lopsided. So even a great defense like ours can get tired and get got after a while if you don't support them in the other phase of the game. So it was just so much. Man, I was just face down in overtime, laying on the carpet, just like that fourth and 13, man. I had my finger on the power button on the TV, ready to turn it off as soon as Quinn got sacked after the incompletion. But miraculously, the football god stepped in and made sure that we got out of there with the win. Shout out Makuba for the game-winning pick. But man, that was a great football game. I mean, that's the best playoff game we've had in years. Um, so I'm glad we had one good one to watch, even though it came at our expense. We did win, but man, it was stressful. But yeah, I'm just happy to be in the semis, man. And a win is a win is a win is a win. So anything can happen from here on. We just got to find a way to beat Ohio State, and then we have a chance to win it all.
Yeah, that game was a frustrating one to watch because it started out so good. Like we were like, hell yeah, first offensive drive, it's two plays, touchdown, um, get a stop on defense, and then get that punt return for a touchdown. And it was kind of like, okay, like we're gonna flex some muscle here. Our defense is gonna, continue to hold Arizona State back, and our offense is clicking. Like this is a get right game, for this Ohio State matchup. And then we do what we do and just stall, offensively. And um it seemed like it was gonna skin by, this game. I didn't see Arizona State just suddenly finding life But honestly, massive credit to them for for Scadaboo. I mean, my God, just pulling himself off the ground throughout the game, puking and rallying, just Levitt too. Those guys just battled so hard and just did not give up. Their coach, whose name escapes me, which is embarrassing because he deserves a lot of credit. Anyway, like the way that they've continued to battle all season, and then fourth quarter came and they did it right. Like credit to them, they did it right because they were like, "Eff it, it's the playoffs. We're bringing out the trick plays." And again, we continue to be a little bit fooled by trick plays. The fake punts, that the fake punt was a big deal, and then the pass by Scadaboo, which was on film. Like, why did we not expect that? I don't know. And then we played that pass horribly. Like Malik Muhammad just I don't know what happened on that play. It looked like he was arguing for interference or something like that because his effort was just not really there. And anyway, that was kind of the big momentum shift was that halfback pass. And from that point on, their mojo came back. And like you said, I mean, we played a very good game on defense, just totally shut them down. Very physical. But at that point, we were so gassed and our offense continued to stall. And they worked their way back, in the fourth quarter. And it was just it was a nightmare situation. We'll talk about the targeting call, but I want to get your thoughts on it first. But um, only other big general thought about the game is like you, I I mean, collectively, I'm not just gonna say me, but like our group text was very negative at the end of the game. I tweeted out a tweet. I'll call myself out, saying that we're now the laughing stock of college football because it seemed that way. Like that was before Oregon, crapped the bed there, and it looked like we were about to lose to Arizona State, and they're gonna be a Cinderella story. And then of course, Texas wins the game and everyone starts like tweeting back like you idiots, like we're not the laughing stock. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Like we we won the game. Like look at the timestamp on it. Anyway, point is like fourth and 13, I'm watching and I see Arizona State just bringing the house, and I'm just like, shit. Like this is gonna, like this is a Quinn sack. He doesn't even try. He just drops on the ground. Like that is his career at Texas, and I can barely watch. And then I like kind of look, and I see our offensive line I'm like, what? Like the pocket is just so clean. It's like a wall. And I'm like, what's going on? Then he throws this beautiful pass to Golden, and then it's just like elation at that point. And from that play on, I mean, Quinn was perfect from that point, three consecutive touchdown passes in a row, to end that game for him. And then, of course, the massive pick by um
Makuba.
Akuba, my goodness. Yes. Caps off the game. That was even bigger elation because that was, to win it and everything. But up and down emotions. And not saying that I didn't believe in us, but it did take some really big heroics that I don't think we've really ever seen from Quinn. I know that Quinn's been big in big games, like no doubt about that. But like, fourth and 13, like game on the line type stuff, I don't think we've seen that yet. I know that he's stepped up and looked big in big moments, but that's another echelon, that's like Vince Young territory. Or I don't even know if Colt was really that big, in those big of moments. Like that is a rarefied, air to be in. So um, showed us a lot. Credit to Quinn, and credit to Texas for hanging in there and just being a veteran complete team whenever the game came down to the very end.
Yeah. I'll give you my thoughts on the targeting call.
Yeah,
You know,
let's do it.
live. when I saw the play in real time, I was like, oh, thank God we stopped him short. Not even a thought of targeting. So it was just a form tackle. But then they do the slow motion thing. And yeah, by the letter of the rule, you could argue it's targeting because it was helmet to helmet in a way, but he did have his head up, face mask forward, and did not launch. So it's one of those where you probably could have called targeting based on the rule, but like everyone knows it wasn't malicious or intentional, which is the whole problem with the rule in the first place. Like there should be incidental, like 5 yard targeting, no
Yeah.
ejection, not just such a consequential 15 yards, automatic first down, ejection, and missing the first half of the next game. There needs to be the yellow card, red card, or flagrant one, flagrant two type um, uh, ruling on those. But yeah, I didn't. It would have been horrible if they called targeting. It would have been such a sad way to end it. But I'll take the no targeting call. I didn't
Do
think it.
you are you someone that believes like, yeah, Arizona State would have won if it wasn't if they call targeting?
I don't know because their kicker is a horrible
Yeah.
situation, kind of like ours, and they still would be like at the 40,
Right.
40 plus, 45 maybe. So there's no guarantees. It wasn't as definitive as the haters were acting like. It was
Yeah.
Ag Sooners crying on the internet all day about it, and a couple of days after. But
Yeah.
there's still a good chance that our defense would have stepped up and gotten that pick like they had on Levitt, and overtime would have gotten it there at the back end of the fourth. So, yeah, it was a big call, but yeah, it wasn't a definitive game deciding call necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts about it is I do think it should have been called. I do think that that is targeting. I know that he didn't really lower the crown of his head, but based on the rules and everything, the fact that it was defenseless player head and neck area, I would have called it. But going back, I would have called the same targeting on Bond, and potentially there's a targeting on Quinn Ewers where Quinn was hit head to head as well. Like point is what people are failing to understand is they look at that one play because that was the end of the game, big drive, and they put everything on that one play. When in reality, throughout the game, the refs just chose to swallow the whistle all game. Like holding was not called, I don't think holding was called the entire game. And there was holding on both sides of the ball. Like there was holding every play. Like it was unbelievable. I mean, I saw a lot of holding on Arizona State and I saw holding on us too, you know.
Yeah, on Quinn's touchdown run, there was a huge hold by DJ Campbell not
Yeah.
called. But
Yeah.
yeah, Arizona State was holding on pretty much every play themselves. So yeah, it's just the lack of consistency. I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's how the refs approach the game. They're like, you know what, like we're gonna stay out of this unless we need to, unless it's like, false start, which happened a fair number of times on us, which definitely added to our penalty total. Um, but yeah, they just chose to not let their calls, penalties dictate the game. And that's what it came down to. And is that fair? I don't know. But again, like that wasn't the only time that targeting was there. Again, I feel like the Bond hit was a lot more malicious. I mean, he was literally going up for the ball, and then the defender just basically took his head off. Like Taft was not taking his head off. So, um, yeah, I don't know. And then I also don't love the argument of like, yeah, they were robbed of a chance. Like they would have won. You don't know that. You don't like again, like you said, their kicker is not great, and you would assume they got the first down, but fumble, interception, like any number of things could have happened, missed kick. Um, so I don't like to believe that, oh, they would have won if it wasn't for that. They could have won, but they also like you know, they had a whole drive to stop Texas all the way up to the point where we kicked and missed the field goal. And then they had two overtimes, one, you know, which they scored on, and then the second one to extend the game, and they couldn't do it. So at the end of the day, they had plenty of chances, and all the level-headed Arizona State fans like acknowledged that, and they're like, "Yeah, we had plenty of opportunities, like 4th and 13, like you can't give that up." Um, but it's like everyone else, like the Texas hate really comes out strong whenever something like this happens, and My goodness, it's pretty unbelievable. I find it that people are so obsessed with that game and so upset that Arizona State lost. It's just like the greatest tragedy in sports happened. Wild.
Yeah. But man, we got it done, found a way. I do want to touch on a few more things before we move on to Ohio State. Keep it brief. Matthew Golden, he's been a godsend for us. I remember back in spring we were talking about our receiver room being so stacked, and I think all of us on the show, we were the ones, not to take credit for this, but like we were always high. We're like Matthew Golden's gonna be our number one receiver, and no one else was saying that, and he's proven that he's been that guy for us. Made so many big catches, man. He bailed us out. He erased a lot of bad situations on offense for us. That one little out route that was like fourth and short, and Quinn threw
Yeah,
it
that was
in the one
huge.
spot. Horrible play call, but Quinn put it in the one spot where Golden could play it, and he made a beautiful catch. And then all the catches downfield. First drive, he had that big old like 60-yard reception. So he's been awesome for us, man. And I'm excited to see what he can do against Ohio State. He's really improving his draft stock, but I'm hoping he'll be back next year. Anyways, for Texas, but
He's
he's
not
been
coming back.
he's played great. I don't know. I don't know. We haven't been active in the portal.
You think
So
so?
from the people
I
I've
don't.
talked to, I think he's unless he continues to go off and gets a first round grade, I think there's a good chance we'll get him back based
Hmm.
on what I've heard. But Anthony Hill, man, where has he been? Where's Anthony Hill been? And maybe I'm just a casual. I don't break down the film like some
I
people. I don't,
agree.
just anecdotally, I feel like Anthony Hill has been AWOL the last couple of weeks. I
Yeah.
don't recall any tackles besides the face mask he had. I don't recall him creating any pressure on the quarterback. So I want to see him get back into his groove because he was so good for us all season. But recently, he's kind of been just not doing much. So I'd like to see him step up against Ohio State. He's a game changer when he's on. So we need to get him back in his groove. And just back to the complimentary football thing. The lack of the run game against Arizona State was really
That
bad.
was
Like,
the problem.
yeah, I don't understand because we have so much size on them and we have more than enough talent to run on them. And we've run on good teams before all year, but we've also gotten shut down by good teams too. So we're very bipolar running attack. But what I've noticed, and once again, I'm not a film junkie, and I was texting in the group text about this. Whenever we get Wisner or Blue in the pistol behind Quinn and run between the tackles, like inside zone, where it's just a quick downhill run, it's
Mhm.
always for the most part, positive gains, 5, 4, 6, 7 yards. And it allows our offense to get lathered up and move the ball and get first downs and stay on the field and help our defense out. Well, I noticed we just kept running those stupid outside zones that are out of the shotgun that are
Yeah.
slow developing, especially on like 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9. And then Sark always wanted to go to that whenever we'd have incompletion on first down. It's so predictable, so developing, and the defense is allowed to crash down on it. Like let's create some counters off of that, or just not. We don't need to go side to side all the time, and that's something we've been harping all season. So I'd like to see more downhill runs, and also the Burt Isaiah Bond, Ryan Wingo early in the year. Remember those sweeps he would do to them? They were always just like big big plays every time because we have speed advantage on most teams. Ohio State may be an exception, but still we need to get those jet sweeps and the reverses. We need to use those. We need to find ways to generate explosive plays and keep drives going and get in the end zone and help our defense out, man. Because our defense is doing everything for us. It seems like these days. Special teams has been atrocious. Um, we Brett Auburn is apparently running with the twos now in practice this week. Will Stone's
Oh,
been taking a lot of the ones,
oh
uh,
gosh.
which is good, I guess. Can't be much worse than Brett Auburn
I
recently.
don't know. I don't want to bring on a new kicker in the semis. Like that's a horror. I mean,
I
maybe it's
mean,
a good idea. I don't know.
like, can it be worse than Brett Auburn? I mean, it can't
Ah.
be. Like, what's the worst thing? He misses the two game winning field goals again. Like,
Yeah.
I think and it's sad because Brett Auburn used to be a good kicker for us. So hopefully this like helps get him back to his old self. But and then the missed block punt on Maurice Blackwell and just
Oh gosh.
the fake punts, man. It's just we can't get out of our own way. I know Silas Bolden and Ethan Burke made some good special teams plays. Shout out Silas Bolden on that touchdown return, Ethan Burke on the block. But man, we still came out net negative on special teams yet again. Lost the penalty battle. Um, nearly lost a turnover battle with that Quinn Ewers interception, but luckily Makuba got that back. But it's just it's just so funny how many things go wrong with this team all season long, and we find ways to win. We're 13-2, and if we could just put together one good game of complimentary football down the stretch, that could be enough to potentially win you a national championship at this point. So we're close, and we're so flawed yet we have a good shot to right the ship at the last second and see what we can do. But just and crazy Texas football 2024 team, man. This team, I've never seen a team like this in my life, following Texas. But I'm grateful to be here, man. I'd much rather be in this position than being a OU fan or an A&M fan right now.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, let's move forward. Let's move on to Ohio State. Texas currently an underdog in this game. They are the home team. They're breaking out the all whites yet again, keeping that tradition alive. Um, like I've said, I think before on the show, like I really don't. This seems to be something that they just love, that all white mojo at this point. I don't expect them in a playoff game outside of like the home game against Clemson. You know, you're gonna wear your home uniform at home, but at least for Texas. Um, yeah, I don't see them not wearing their white unless it's like Ohio State or I mean LSU or some team that decides to do the all white look when they're the home team. But yeah, underdog spread is looking right around 5.5 at this point, but it kind of keeps moving back and forth. Um, Myers, let me get your first initial thoughts on Ohio State this game. Um, Ohio State's kind of like us. I mean, right now they're doing a lot better, but they've definitely had flaws as well this season.
Right, yeah, they're definitely on a heater right now. People are comparing them to 2019 LSU after two games all of a sudden, which I respect. I mean, they've looked flawless the last couple of games and give them credit, but yeah, I mean, they went 10-2 during the regular season, lost to Michigan and Oregon. But yeah, man, they really are a complete team and probably the best roster in college football if you go position by position. People keep talking about Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, those receivers they have. They also have Carnell Tate. So they have probably the best receiver core, definitely the best receiver core we faced all season. So that'll be a good challenge. But we definitely have the best secondary they faced all season, conversely. So I think Jade Barron and Taff and Makuba and Muhammad will have definitely a chip on their shoulder to try to prove that they can stop some of these NFL receivers they have because they're the real deal. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch. Um, Defensively for Ohio State, they have some good secondary, mainly at safety. Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs. That's probably the best combo of safeties, I want to say. Aside from maybe ours, but they might even be better than ours. They have a great D line, Jack Sawyer, JT. I can't pronounce his last name, but they get after the quarterback, man. That's a problem for us because you know how Quinn can get when he's under pressure. So they sacked Dylan Gabriel quite a bit. They really made it uncomfortable for him, and they're flying around, man. I can't say enough good things about how Ohio State's been playing. Will Howard's been playing really well himself, and that's a guy we're familiar with from Kansas State. He was always good against us, never like a world beater, I wouldn't say, but he never had the weapons he has at Ohio State. But I do think he's a guy that we can get home to. I would say if there was one weakness to Ohio State right now, it'd be their offensive line. They've dealt with some injuries on the interior, and I think we can create some pressure big time and hopefully stop the run. If we're able to do that, stop the run and get Howard uncomfortable, we'll have a good chance to win the game. And that's a tall task, but I think we have the defense to do it. Um, so that'll be something to watch. And they also, of course, have the great dynamic duo at running back, Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins. So they really don't have any holes. If I had to nitpick one, I would say the offensive line's a place where we could wreak some havoc. But yeah, man, it's going to be a tough challenge. Uh, no one's given us a shot, which I kind of like the underdog role. We were talking about that, Trevor. We haven't been underdogs since we went to Tuscaloosa last year, and that game went very well for us. So hopefully we can get some of that mojo back on Friday.
Yes, excellent point there. Um, Yeah, I think that as every football game does, so it's not like I'm saying anything too profound here, but I do think it's a big truth to the game. I think this game really comes down to the trench play. Our offensive line versus their defensive line and vice versa. Because like you said, Ohio State's weakness, if you had to pinpoint one, would probably be their offensive line. However, their offensive line has been playing exceptionally in the playoffs. Like Will Howard has not really been touched all playoff, which is impressive against Tennessee and Oregon that he's been able to stay upright and not really even be pressured all that much is beyond impressive, and a big shout out to the offensive line for Ohio State. Now, I do think our defensive front is better than both of those teams that they've played. Um, but we'll definitely need to play a good game and a big game to be able to do that. I also will say that I don't think Will Howard's hasn't faced a secondary as good as Texas. In fact, I'm fairly certain of it.
Yeah.
Um, can he still tear that apart and expose it? Maybe. I mean, they obviously have the horses to do so. Um, Probably the best receiving core in college football. Um, but I think, I mean, look, if Michigan's defense could shut down Ohio State in their own house, I feel confident that we could maybe not replicate it, fully, because that's pretty impossible to do. I feel like at this point with how well they're playing currently, but I think that we can take a lot of notes from what Michigan did, um, and try to play these guys in a phone booth. Um, and I think it's definitely possible, and it really starts up front, I believe. But the exact same thing, in conjunction can be said about our offense. Our offensive line has not been good these playoffs. I mean, they were good against Clemson. I take that back, but against Arizona State, they had I think kind of an embarrassing game. They could not run the ball at all, and Quinn was pressured. They held up on that last, 4th and 13, like I said earlier, but up to that point, they made a lot of mistakes and, false start penalties and all kinds of other penalties that they probably weren't even flagged for. So hopefully they come into the game with, something to prove and are a lot more clean than they were, last game. You talk about the Tuscaloosa game against Alabama. Um, you know, that game was won because our offensive line was so dominant in that game. They were like, they weren't penalty free, but they played a very clean game and a very dominant game. And big games like that against big time opponents, when you're an underdog, like that is something that needs to go your way. Um, So that'll be huge for us. I mean, obviously Quinn's got to, play at his A game, and hopefully we kind of, awoken a monster, in this Ohio Arizona State game previously. Um but yeah, I think those are kind of the big keys to this game is who wins up front. And I know that people are going to be drawn to the flash of Ohio State or even of Texas with some of the weapons that they have. But I think that those can be almost taken out of the game if you really dominate in the trenches.
Yeah, definitely. And I think our defense and offensive line, they have the capability to turn it on like that. We have the talent and the depth to do so. It's just a matter of the desire and the will and the just going out and doing it. And I do think that the dynamic's a lot different now. We're the team that's supposed to be pushed around, whereas Arizona State had that they were the team supposed to be pushed around last week. So it's a different edge that we should be playing with, and we're kind of banking on that in a way, which kind of goes to show that we are the underdog. But yeah, I do think our offensive line will play a little bit better, but will it be enough to sustain drives and get a run game? That's going to be the question. They'll probably get to Quinn. They'll probably sack him a couple times, just because they're a great defensive line and they have good edge rushers. But it's just really the ability to establish the run against these guys. that's going to be key for us to hang in there and really just take some pressure off our defense and keep the ball out of Ohio State's hands. One more thing I want to touch on before we go into predictions. I kind of mentioned I wanted Texas to go more pistol, less shotgun when running, go downhill. Also, I remember Rod Babers was talking about this on one of his podcasts this week. Quinn Ewers has been money out of empty, just throwing it out empty. He's been phenomenal based on the numbers and just like what you see whenever we're in empty, we're always moving the ball and getting the ball in our playmakers' hands, and it allows our offensive line to kind of tee off because they're not going to send a million people when it's empty. So I'd like to see us continue to try that against Ohio State. They have a good safeties, but I do think some of their corners we can take advantage of if we get them in those one-on-one situations. We need Bond, man. We need Bond to. I know he's been dealing with injury, but man, we need a good Bond game. I know we need to get him just like some screen passes or something. I know I'm anti-screen right now, but for Bond's sake, get him in the open field on an easy pass and just let him knock the rust off and let's go, man, because we need that guy if we're going to put up some explosive
Yeah.
play. It's gonna have to come from him and Wingo because we know Golden will show up. Golden's been that guy for us and a Gunnar Helm too, but we need those other two to really make an impact for us if we want to put up some big points on Ohio State's defense.
Yeah, honestly, I've been a little frustrated in Texas that they've I know it's a playoff game, so you kind of got to play your guys if they're healthy enough to play. But honestly, I'm a little frustrated that Bond has been playing these past couple games because a game like this, you need him at 100%, and if you get him at 100%, like he is like Bond at 100 is like our offense is totally different. You think back to Florida, that's really the last time that he was at full go, and my goodness, like it was a totally different offense. You think of the beginning of the season. Like he is a massive weapon, and he's clearly hurt right now. And we continue to play him game by game. And I mean, he's not, he's still not 100%, and I don't think he's going to get better. And I kind of wish that we, just gave him time off and saved him for a game like this. But I'm not the coach, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But that was kind of my thought. But yeah, full-heartedly agree there. I mean, get Wingo going if Bond isn't, able to run at that speed. Um, or even Jaden Blue. Try to get him in some space. We really didn't utilize him very much last game, which could be a good thing. Maybe Ohio State doesn't pay as much attention to him, or Blue's just really fresh because he only got like a couple touches last game. So that'll be big. I do agree with, the empty formation. I've been picking that up too, and yeah, I think that as long as we can run the ball and control drives, I think we really got a good shot in this game. Cam Williams returning is huge. I'm curious to see how Kelvin Banks does because he got kind of nicked up. Um, so I'm seeing us against their edge rushers. I know that we're going to lose a few battles, but hopefully we win. We win a lot more than we lose, and we kind of have to, or this can be a bit of an ugly game.
All right, so I think we can push on to predictions now. I feel like we understand what we're up against at this point, and it's going to be a tough ask for us. But I think we'll have something for him. But Matt Madrid's not here, and he always sends his prediction in. So I'll do his first, and I'll give you mine, then we'll pass to Trevor and get out of here. But he's got the bad guys winning. He's got Ohio State winning 27-24 in a semi-low scoring game. Ohio State's defense has only given up over 20 points twice this year, both to Oregon. So he's expecting us to break through that threshold, but lose a close game, which I guess we would cover. But he's got the Buckeyes by 3. So I have it a little bit of a high scoring game. I think it's kind of similar to um, the Arizona State game, not in like us being up big and blowing a lead, but just kind of like low scoring for a while. But at the end, both offenses get kind of hot. Um, Texas, we're playing it in the Cotton Bowl and Jerry World. I'm banking on this home field atmosphere a little bit. I know Ohio State travels very well, and they have alums everywhere. I'm sure they have a bunch in the DFW area. So I don't think it'll be a full home game, but I do think it'll be a significant edge to the Texas just fans in the stadium and from that perspective. So I'm hoping that helps us. I think we will come out and really just with a chip on our shoulder and really just kind of push them around a little bit and kind of just assert ourselves and really shut all the talking heads up, at least for a while, and prove that we belong on that field. We're just as good as them in a lot of ways. But ultimately, I won't string this out. I think Ohio State's the hottest team in the country for a reason. I do think there's something about peaking at the right time, and they're definitely seeming to do that. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I'm going to pick Ohio State to win 37-31. I do think it kind of ends similar to Washington last year, where we get the ball and we have a chance to go get a game-winning touchdown, but come up short, something like that. I think it'll be a heartbreaker. But man, if we could just find a way to sneak out a win, man, that'd be huge. Because like Trevor was saying, if we get past Ohio State, I feel confident in whoever we would get in the national championship. So I hope it's all hands on deck. I hope we have the trick plays dialed up, kind of like Arizona State did. You know, the fourth down, fake punts, all that. Just find a way to get a win here, Sark, and we'll have a good, great chance of winning the national championship. So I got the Buckeyes winning by 6, so they would cover barely, I guess, in that scenario. But I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah, I love what you said there about trick plays. And yeah, I mean, this is, I know we've been saying all playoffs, or even going into the playoffs, we said like hey, it's win or go home, like empty the clip type stuff. And I feel like we haven't really done anything very unusual. Like even in last game where it was fourth and 13, games on the line, and we were struggling to make things work offensively. We didn't really dip too big into our playbook, and I feel like Sark probably felt like we don't have to for these teams. But for Ohio State, I think it's time to. I want to see Sark's creative play calls come back because I haven't seen him in a while. I want to see that, triple reverse or whatever that was against Florida, just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff like that. Um, Obviously not all game, but whenever it's needed, definitely don't hold back there. Both you guys have us losing to Ohio State, and it's for good reason. They're definitely favored, and like you said, they're without a doubt the most hot team in the country right now. And it seems that everyone's talking them up, and I think it's gonna get their hubris feeling a little bit big. And let's not forget that Ohio State is beatable. They've been beat just as many times as we have, to two different opponents rather than one. Um, and in both situations, their quarterback, who has never beaten Texas, struggled. And I know that obviously Will Howard's going to be out to prove that he can beat Texas. This is his last opportunity to do so. Um, Will Howard against Texas, like I feel good that I know that our coaches know Will Howard better than most quarterbacks. Like they know him really well. And obviously Ohio State's a totally different team. They got a lot of weapons to contend with, but I think we can find a way to give him fits. And I think that our team really is going to get a lot out of the last game that we played, where, all on the line, big players step up, make big plays. I'm hoping that Texas rides those past couple drives in overtime from Arizona State and comes out firing on all cylinders. Um, and as an underdog, which again, we haven't had that luxury in a while. But I like our team when we're underdogs. And honestly, I'll be honest. Like I was I was gonna pick Ohio State too. But the fact that like both of y'all picked Ohio State, like we can't be a Texas show without giving Texas a little bit of credit here. So that's not the only reason I'm picking Texas. Like I think we legitimately have a real shot. And the fact that everyone's doubting us and no one's betting on Texas, all that stuff, I think plays into our favor. Because I think at the end of the day, we're a team that definitely I wouldn't say has the talent advantage. In fact, I don't think anyone would say they have the talent advantage. Um, but I do think that we have a bit more big game advantage. Like, um, I don't know. I feel like Ohio State gets in their own head sometimes in very big moments. I mean, Ryan Day, like, people were literally calling for his job, like a month ago or less, at this point. Um, and saying all the negative things about what they are and what they've been in the playoffs and all that. So I don't know. I'm expecting a close game. I got Texas winning 31-27, 4-point game, real close, real tight, not super high scoring, pretty middle of the road, much like kind of, a split between the two of y'all's predictions. But I got Texas winning. I feel like we got a shot, and Quinn's obviously. I don't see it. I don't see this being his final game against his former team. I think Quinn's got something to prove. His team's got something to prove. First time playing in the Cotton Bowl in forever, which is weird. Considering I think we've made the most Cotton Bowl appearances of any team. I could be wrong, but that seems right. So yeah, I got the horns. Someone's got to represent our home team here. So give me Texas 31-27.
Trevor, I love it. I love it. People are acting like this is like Penn State, Boise State, uh,
Right.
SMU, Penn State. It's not. I mean, they have talent. I would argue we have more NFL draft picks on our team right now than they do, in terms of this year's
This
draft.
year. Yeah.
I bet we'll outperform them in this year's draft. And I want Quinn over Will Howard in a game like
Oh,
this.
for sure. It'd be
Just like you
crazy.
said, the big game experience, and really, it's an unprecedented thing with Ohio State. Like we've seen teams get hot at the end and win a national championship, but no one's had to get hot and win four straight games at that level to win a national championship. So that's asking a lot of Ohio State to maintain that level. And if Texas just ups our play and cleans it up just a little bit, and Ohio State just regresses to the mean just a little bit, it's going to be a dogfight down to the end. And I just think Quinn Ewers, um, as bad as it may look on paper, I just have so much confidence in Quinn Ewer in this spot. Quinn Ewers in this spot. This is just like the game he was made for. Big game Quinn. And I think we'll have a real shot with that. So, and like you said, Ryan Day, you know, 3 weeks ago, he was a dead man walking. Every single Ohio State fan wanted him fired. He was like it was like he saw a ghost after Michigan was planting the flag on their field. Like his dog had just died, like a little baby, scared out there, not in control of his team. And sure, they've rallied for him and they've played well, but can they do that four times in a row? And now they're playing their toughest match. I guess Oregon's a tough matchup, but I think stylistically, styles makes fights. I think we are their toughest matchup from a stylistic standpoint.
We're
So
the most physically dominant team that they're going to play all season. And same
yes,
for them. I mean, well, maybe Georgia. I don't
yeah.
know. Depends. It depends
The
on
way
the day
Georgia
with
plays,
Georgia, but
yeah, yeah. But
um
cool, man. I love it. I think there's a path to victory for Texas, and people are writing us off, which is great in terms of the locker room and the mentality of our team. And I know Sark's reveling in it. I mean, his post game or his interview this week, his press conference, he was like, clearly no one's giving us a shot. So it's like we need all the Longhorn fans we can get. I mean, why should we even show up? We're going to get killed by this team that's better than the 2019 LSU Tigers all of a sudden,
yeah.
apparently. So I love that aspect of it, man. It's going to be awesome.
It's a
Uh,
perfect formula for Texas. I mean, they'll have a slight home field advantage, coupled with the fact that, yeah, they're playing a team that no one's giving them a chance in, which we haven't had that luxury in a while. But I'm telling you, every time, well, I mean, but I'm telling the audience, every time that Texas is in a situation where they're the big underdog, historically, or at least under Sark and honestly previous coaches too, we rise to the occasion. Um,
yeah,
I guess maybe not the Washington game.
but
Last
we were
year semi,
favorites,
but even then,
favorites in that game by
I
like a
guess so. Yeah.
touchdown.
Yeah. But I think that the underdog coupled with the fact that we won last game, so we're not coming off of a loss, but it was barely by the skin of our teeth. And it's like, yeah, we played a horrible game. We got a lot to clean up. The fact that we rallied and won, and America hates you because they think that, like, oh, they got bailed out because people want to see Texas rather than Arizona State, or the money's there, all that BS. I don't know. I think there's a lot of factors going for Texas right now that's going to have them coming out, playing with their tails on fire, in all the right ways.
Yeah, it feels like house money, doesn't it? After we stole that game down the stretch, I had conceded victory. I had conceded the loss in my mind,
Yeah,
and the fact that we won that, it's like holy crap, we got a new breath of life, and it should have been over already anyway. So let's go
right.
play footy and just go, just put our best foot forward. And I think, like you said, channeling the last couple drives, we kind of dominated overtime after 4th and 13. Channeling that, building on that, while Ohio State's just getting praised by everyone and already crowned as the national champion. I think there's a good path there for us, but we got to go do it.
Well said. Well said.
Last thing, Trevor, before we get out of here,
Yeah.
Penn State, Notre Dame. Who's your pick?
Ooh. Um, I mean, at the moment, I think everyone's saying Notre Dame, which is what's giving me reservations. I To me, they're a lot more of a complete team. I don't trust Penn State's offense. I know that they've looked pretty good in the playoffs, but I really don't think that they've faced a I mean, they haven't. They haven't faced a defense anywhere near what Notre Dame is. Um, Give me Notre Dame in the edge. I'm hoping for a Notre Dame Texas national like that. That's like, I think I said it in the text message. Like that's going to be so good for the sport if that happens. I know that the haters are going to come out, but like my God, two of those, some of the most iconic brands that haven't played, in a in a title game for years. I mean, Notre Dame, my God, it's been since like the 80s. Texas, it's been, it's been a while too. That'd be that's the matchup I'm praying for.
I think everybody, like the moneymakers, want that matchup because Ohio State and Notre Dame would be big, of course, but that's like
That
they're
Yeah,
too
you see
close
that.
to each other. Yeah, they
Right.
play too much. This is like Notre Dame, the Midwest versus the South and Texas, and the two just awesome brands. That so much aura on those fields when they're on the field together. So, yeah, that's the one we want, man. I pick Notre Dame too. I think they'll beat Penn State handily. Honestly, I don't trust James Franklin at all in big games. Kind of like Ryan Light in a way. So,
Right.
uh, give me Notre Dame, and then man, if we can find a way, a Texas Notre Dame national championship in Atlanta, that'd be cinema. So fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
for sure. For sure. Did Madrid have a prediction for that game?
I didn't
I don't
ask
think
him.
so.
I feel like he would have picked Penn State. He feels like a Penn State guy, and but I could be totally
No.
wrong.
He replied, he said he has Notre Dame too.
Oh, good, good.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's a lock to me. I'd be shocked if Penn State won that game.
Yeah.
Honestly, more shocked if Penn State won than Texas beating Ohio State. So,
Agreed. I'd agree with that.
but
All right, y'all. Thank you for watching. Hopefully Texas pulls off the big upset, makes it to the national championship, but that's why the game is played, as they say. Uh, please like, comment, subscribe, especially if you enjoyed the show. We appreciate your viewership, and hopefully see you in another exciting video here next week. Horns up. Y'all take care. Welcome.
hook 'em, hook 'em, hook 'em.